Thank you for staying with us here on Going Beyond. My very interesting guest today is Colonel David Salam. Colonel David Salam has been with the Army for 25 years, like I told you before. And then he left and he started this amazing group of companies called the Radiant Group of Companies. Now, thank you, sir, for staying with us. You talked about, I think we touched on 3 companies so far. But I understand that you've also moved into the modern technology era. Let's talk about that now.
Yes, Jennifer. Actually, in 2012, by then we were doing fairly well and the group was doing well at that point of time. So I decided to go to Harvard Business School for a 3-year program at that time, and it was called the Owner-President Management Program. So I underwent that, and that was basically to align myself with the aspects of globalization that's currently going on, and also to understand as to what is happening in technology and what are the new developments that's going on. So with that in mind, we merged a 13-year-old company called Radiant Integrity Techno Solutions, and that's a software development firm that we have. And that firm is dealing with defense software development. As also we are doing e-governance initiatives in the northeastern states.
Okay, right. Did you find that your time at Harvard actually equipped you for the Indian business environment?
It equipped me for the global and the international standards which have to be aspired for.
So you could actually translate that into Indian business environment.
And we had to adapt it to the Indian environment. And the other thing it helped me was the last firm that we have, that is Radiant Global Solutions. So we realized that now technology is moving forward. So we set up initially an outsourced business in knowledge process outsourcing based on financial accounting services. And now we are into pure product development based on data analytics and the blockchain, which is today the forward and cutting edge technology.
The in thing. So how is it possible to actually be the chairman, be the owner, be the founder of all of these things? Did you have to actually study each of these things in isolation?
Well, my role today has changed, and though I am the executive chairman, I am always there to listen to the second tier, who are the chief executive officers of each of these businesses. Now they come with their core competency to drive the particular business. So my role, I see more as a person who provides a platform, who enables and empowers them and supports them financially also. And we look into particularly the key hires who are there. I look into those aspects. And we are constantly in alignment with what's happening in the world and how we need to improve ourselves and bring in international best practices into the businesses.
I want to ask you, what do you believe is the key element for your incredible success?
Well, there is always the element of God's grace.
Indeed.
That's one of the important aspects. But besides that, I think if I were to look back and say as to what really helped, it was detailed planning. Like initially getting into cash logistics was a good step, because it was in alignment with my earlier training and background. And so therefore to move, to transit from military life to this line of business, which was zero error and which required armed vehicles, and it required gunmen. So the transition was smoother here, and I could also hire a lot of ex-service personnel, officers as well as men, who could join me and who could help me build the business. So I think that was one of the key factors. And the other thing, as I already said, I refused to change, because I felt that if somebody was shaking my hand and giving me business, it was because I was a former service officer. So those value systems that we had in the Army, and those we have continued to persist with even after entering corporate life.
Right. I see this Army man coming out in you all the time, Colonel. I was just wondering, I have great respect for the services, I have great respect for the uniformed forces. I would imagine that discipline plays a very important role in success in any field. And I don't know how much importance you believe one should be paying to discipline, even self-discipline, really.
That's right. Today essentially, like when you talk about duty consciousness, that is essentially based on self-discipline, commitment, integrity, and intelligent hard work. Now, these are the components of how you do your duty well. So, those are very important aspects. And I think what really worked for us was, as I said, detailed planning. And also you must enter, a business where there is not too much of competition. Like in our case, it's a high entry barrier business. The risks are too high.
Yeah, sure.
So if you are comfortable and you have an appetite for mitigated risk, then you should choose those lines or pick up those businesses which where the competition is always more difficult to overcome as compared to risk.
Yeah, but you don't look like a risk taker to me, I must confess.
Well,
You're not going to answer me that, I can see.
I think appearances can be deceptive.
I'll let you go on that one. I'll leave it. I'll leave that. What about now? I know that you have a son who, are you grooming him? What role does he play?
Well, my son Alexander, he has done his master's in management from the Imperial College London, and he was with PricewaterhouseCoopers as an investment banker. So thereafter I requested him to join the family business so that he could be of support to me. And he's now my executive assistant.
Right.
And so he has a complete idea, and that's also part of business continuity planning.
Right, sure.
Where, in an appropriate manner, he can play a role. But as of now, he's a support to me, and he's also familiar with what's going on.
Right. And your daughter, of course, is studying medicine. So do you see her following in her mother's footsteps?
Yes.
Personal question, of course.
My daughter Angela is again, she's a very compassionate child. And so she wanted to get into medicine so that she could tend to the sick. And therefore, now she's finished her medicine, she's doing her internship. And so Radiant Medical Services would be the right area for her to step into.
The logical direction for her to get into. Right. What does the future hold for you, and what would be your plans for the future? Do you see your Radiant Group getting more and more? The next time we talk, you'll probably end up sitting here and saying, I've got 10 companies or some such thing. What do you plan?
Well, as of now, 5 companies have provided us with an opportunity where even the companies within them have great opportunities for internal diversification. So I personally believe that you can do only X number of things well. So now we are focusing on these 5 companies and verticals that we are currently driving. And but we have a strong reserves as well, which we are planning to deploy into new startups. So we are planning to have an investment arm. So we would be looking at angel investments into good ideas. So though we are not physically driving them, but we would hold substantial equity in those companies.
Right. So
and help them come.
I'm going to take a very short break here again, and I'm going to come back to you, and we're going to just ask you to elaborate on that. Time for us yet again to go for a very short break, and we'll be right back with you.